the criminal justice system,
podcast-based
offenses are considered especially heinous. In
Ohio,
the dedicated
podcasters
who investigate these vicious felonies are members of an elite squad known as
the Current Gaming Podcast.
These are their stories.
What happening? I have a mustache and my name is Charles Blades. What's going on, everybody? This is the Current Gaming Podcast. Today I am joined by none other than the potato himself, Aaron Weeks. How's it going, buddy?
That's me, dude. Let me tell you a story.
All right, break it down for me.
So
I like how we've been talking for about I'd say like 15 to 20 minutes before we actually start this thing, and you never like tell me what you're gonna say like when I introduce you, and I love it so much. It brings.
I mean, that's what I've been doing, dude.
Yeah. Anyway.
So the other day, the dude sitting next to me at work, he's in his little cube doing his own thing, and like, he calls somebody, and he's having a pretty serious conversation with this guy about like the money on his bill or something like that, and he's trying to say, let me specify or stipulate, but like he tried to say both of those words at the same time, and it came out stiplify. So it sounded like he was trying to cast a fucking Harry Potter curse on this poor man. So I got a good fucking chuckle out of it, and nobody else understood what was going on.
Yeah, no,
that's my story.
You stiplify somebody, that's how you get them with the bill.
Critically,
what?
I don't know. Stupefy.
Yeah. So
okay.
Critically acclaimed cat mom, Cheyenne Clark. How's it going?
Nice. Very true. Hey, what's up?
How's it going? You watched The Good Place yet?
Not season 2 because I don't know how to get access to it.
You guys are terrible. Anyway. And Tristan Thomas superfan David Morgan, how's it going, buddy?
I don't know who that is.
All right, cool.
Good.
That's
What's
a good.
going
That's
on?
a good joke. That's a good joke. I like when I do the jokes; they just fly right over your head. That's when they're best. When you have no.
Most of the time, I think I get it, but this time, no, I
I
don't.
have no real life
He
awareness.
is the basketball player that cheated on Khloe Kardashian. We got a good show for you this week. We're gonna be talking about Steam Spy, maybe PlayStation 5 stuff. But first, the big news of the week, I would say, was this new game decided to come out called Radical Heights from the developer of LawBreakers, Boss Key. Aaron, where's the story coming from?
it's IGN, Alex Gileadov.
It comes from IGN. They say LawBreakers developer Boss Key Productions' new project is a free-to-play battle royale shooter called Radical Heights. As detailed in the game's official website, Radical Heights is available on Steam Early Access on April 10th, so about a week ago. Radical Heights mixes the battle royale formula with a colorful 80s aesthetic and a live video game show element that takes place in the year 2023. Players will battle using a variety of vehicles and weapons, including confetti bombs, inflatable decoys, a BMX bike. You can keep the cash you earn during matches, regardless if you win or lose, and those earnings can be spent on customization, new weapons, and more. And it has a whole money system involved with that. The big news about this game is, number one, another game jumping on the battle royale trend, as we've seen throughout the year. And number two, this game looks rough. It looks rough.
It's not done. It's not even like in beta. Like, it's very clearly something that they had been working on, and they were like, our studio is going to shut down like next week if we don't get some revenue. And they gave up on LawBreakers, and then within the same 24-hour period, they released this game in early access. They called it Extreme Early Access. I guess not only to be funny, but also because the game features buildings which are literally just gray boxes put together. They aren't even textured. The thing that worries me the most about Radical Heights isn't just that it's a cynical cash grab by a floundering studio.
It's the dreadful name.
Well, that also, but mostly it's that the game seems like it has a pay-to-win element. You can buy like a founders pack with like you can with all these shitty early access games, and it basically gives you cash, which they've already said can buy you weapons in the game. I've seen the gameplay, so like essentially how it works is you get cash and that's retained, and you can spend that at like vending machines to get guns. And you also get a 10% cash bonus, so any cash that you pick up, you get more of. So, like, I can't see that being justified as, like, not a pay-to-win mechanic, because that's literally giving you more resources of which, like, from which to buy weapons in the game. So, I don't know why nobody else has been, like, reporting on that, like, that I've seen. That's, like, pretty... I don't know.
So here's a story I'm reading from Pace Magazine. Brian Bell writes this. It says, days after announcing they would be moving away from the failed hero shooter LawBreakers, Boss Key Productions began touting their next offering, Radical Heights, blah, 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 blah. This quick turnaround, blah, 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 blah. Many people have noted... What is it? Hold on. Let me read. I'm doing this like off the cuff. Many people have noted the pay-to-win elements within the game, and the developer has addressed this in a recent update. The claims center around the game's founder pack, a $15 add-on. Originally, that was set to include a 10% multiplayer bonus, a 10% money multiplier, which would give those who purchased the add-on more money at the end of matches, and a $10,000 cash bonus. Within hours of this announcement, fans began labeling the benefits in Founders Pack as having the classic trappings of a free-to-play model. Soon after, Boss Key tweaked the bonuses offered by the add-on, removing the $10,000 cash bonus, but it still has the multiplier thing on it. So, but you do like lose the money up front.
Okay, so they only did that because they got caught.
I mean, I'm not saying they didn't. I'm just saying like.
And then, I mean, that's good. Okay, I was wrong. I'm glad somebody did, and the community did. I didn't follow this game that closely.
I'm not like shitting on you. I'm just saying like that. Like I just
no, totally. I was having a fucking laugh at this even coming out at all. Beyond that, I wasn't following it. So that 10% bonus, though. I mean, how much do you earn in a match? Like that's gotta end up being more than 10,000 very fast.
I mean, I'm not saying it probably does affect the game in a significant way.
It's just like so. This is so. I fucking hate. Like this is like the ugly side of this industry. Like this kind of shit.
I don't know if
Just
it's
like,
the ugly side. I think the ugly side is more of the Star Wars stuff. Is like a lot.
Can
more
we
gross.
talk? Okay, but can we talk about the Spider-Man Game Informer fucking deal going on right now? Speaking of the ugly side of this fucking industry,
yeah, what
how
about
Game
it?
Informer just has exclusive coverage of that game up until like whatever a month before its release. Like. What is that? How did that get hashed
just
out?
Exclusive coverage stuff happens.
They just paid them and they were like,
No,
hey,
they don't pay them for sure.
They strike a deal and they're like, we get exclusive coverage for your game for.
There's not money involved in that?
No, 0%. If there was
Ad
money
revenue.
involved,
Wow.
That's like very.
ad revenue, yeah, but not like.
Okay, that's money.
Insomniac is
Yeah,
not
but-
paying Game Informer. That's ridiculous.
When you're, but when you're the only like when you're the only outlet writing about a very anticipated game,
I'm not
that
saying
has
they're not
direct
making money off it.
financial compensation through ad revenue.
They for sure
So, like,
are making more ad
That's
revenue.
fucked up. This
You know what? You guys ready for a hot take?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this game, and you want to know why?
Radical Heights.
Why?
Why?
You ready? Radical Heights is going to be awesome for me because BMX bikes. I get to
Dave
vicariously relive my Dave Mira days. It's just one of those days, you know. I'm just gonna hop on a BMX bike and I'm just gonna fucking ride around.
Do some bunny
It's gonna be
hops?
awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Did
Yeah,
Dave
do some
Mira
bunny hops, dude.
Some whips.
pass away.
Yeah, Dave Mira killed himself. It was very sad.
That's
That was
sad.
very sad.
He had CTE, I think.
Dark times, dude.
The other thing I'm gonna add here is we're gonna talk about it a little later. Fortnite had a Fortnite, obviously the biggest battle royale game probably at the moment, had a down period of like a full like 16, 24-ish hours on I think it was last Thursday, and during that time, popular streamer Ninja, who we've talked about in the past, he streamed with Drake. He said the N-word. Those are the distinctions. He picked up Radical Heights for a second, and it shot to the #1 game on Twitch instantly, and
because of him.
and
Yeah.
the player base.
And because people weren't playing Fortnite.
Yeah,
so they're
and the
like,
player
hey, I'm
base, and
just
it
gonna
got a
go play
big
the
jump.
rest.
So like that is the most fortuitous thing that could have happened for this game.
I want to mention though that this game only beat LawBreakers player base by about 300 players, the all-time high, and this game is free. So like, let that sink.
I mean, I'm not saying it's a great game.
It's
I don't
probably
think
the
this game
few
is gonna
Lawbreakers
succeed.
people playing it.
Like,
And like a few like people that like battle royales like Fortnite and shit. They're like, I guess I'll try it.
the state
free.
this game is in is going to kill it faster than anything. Like, it is so fucking janky. Like, it looks. There's not even parachutes in the game. You just fall and hit the ground.
Again, I don't think the game. But you saying that it's like this is what's wrong with the industry kind of stuff. I take a little umbrage with that because
That's hyperbole, but like also like
Professor
I hate
Umbrage,
seeing
dude.
this
That
kind of shit. Like
it is shitty. But like at the same
leaves a
time, it's
sour
like an
taste
independent
in it.
developer, and like I don't like really care that much. Kind of like it's a much bigger deal when EA or Ubisoft
Well,
or
yeah.
Activision does something like this, and that is where I think shit fucks up. I don't think the game. I point blank. Like I like the '80s aesthetic is fucking wearing. Is anybody else feel that?
I feel like it's a bad take on the 80s aesthetic,
Everything
too.
doesn't
It's like
need
not
to be
even
fucking
well
neon
done.
with the same grid and shit like that. I fucking hate the 80s aesthetic.
I love that aesthetic. Personally,
Yeah.
I love the 80s aesthetic. I think they did it poorly. I think it does not look good.
Well, because the game has low production value. Like, it doesn't it looks like shit regardless of what the aesthetic is.
And their 80s aesthetic is just fucking dudes with big hair and band t-shirts. Like, I don't really
it's
see
funny.
80s
He's got a
in it.
bandana. He looks like Rambo.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
And the...
Buy
I
my
don't
game.
know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Fucking... I've been tired of that since, like, Blood Dragon came out, so...
See, I fucking love... Blood Dragon did the 80s aesthetic better than I think anything I've ever seen. As far as something like trying to nail the 80s aesthetic in like a fun, goofy
Or
way.
Hotline Miami
yeah.
did it really well as well.
I don't know. I mean, it did, but like I enjoyed that aesthetic more. in
Yeah, I think
Dragon.
Blood Dragon actually probably does better than Hotline Miami. I like Hotline Miami too, but
Did it have better music?
It
No
probably
way.
didn't, but it had. They were both very fun games.
Music's
so.
a big part.
I don't want to. I
of
don't want
the
to. I don't want
80s.
to shit on either one. But going back to
don't
the
even
Insomniac thing, they definitely didn't get paid for that. I want that to be 100%.
Okay, I sure, but
It's just weird.
how?
I
Then
don't
why make
understand how it
that?
works.
Like, why? What benefit does that have to Insomniac to make that? Like, what?
Yeah.
Why would they do that?
because they wanted to. They wanted an exclusive reveal.
Yeah,
with
they
somebody.
just
I don't know
wanted.
about
They
that.
just
They
wanted
get on the
that.
cover of Game
They were like,
Informer.
"Hey, less coverage. That sounds good. Let's go with."
It's
Game
not
Informer."
necessarily less coverage because everybody's still covering it. It's just that Game Informer just has the story first.
What about IGN first?
Oh,
Is that
that's
paid?
the same thing. It's like I don't think it's great. I don't think it makes complete sense. I think from a publishing standpoint to have like
I disagree
a
completely.
one outlet completely devote their entire like fucking front row blog on their site to your game. I think that makes complete sense.
Do you think Insomniac has like a fucking iron fist on what they're saying about their game? Do
No,
you think
no,
they have
no,
like
no, no.
super?
I
Then
highly
what's the
doubt that.
point of just not giving it to everybody? And being
Because like
hey, well,
if it had just been on the
reviews
PlayStation blog, like they went on the PlayStation blog and said, "Hey, we have Spider-Man's coming out on September 7th or whatever it is." Then everybody
Mm-hmm.
writes that news story and that's all it is. Instead of that, they don't partner with GameSpot, but they give the exclusive to GameSpot, and then GameSpot runs nonstop coverage, and Game Informer runs nonstop coverage about this game for 2 weeks on their site. Like and everyone is still doing the same thing that they would have done with the PlayStation blog post. So that I think makes sense.
So it's still getting recovered by.
It's still getting
other
recovered
sites.
by IGN and everything like that, and they're still talking about it in GameSpot.
All right, I mean,
but I think,
just-
but then having the one publication be like, because it's not just that they said the Spider-Man release date. There's so much coverage of Spider-Man from Game Informer.
Yeah, they're like the ones who have gotten to play the game and talk.
And so I think that makes sense from a publisher standpoint. From a journalistic standpoint, it's kind of shitty to get in bed with a publisher like that, I would say. But
Yeah,
at
absolutely.
the same time, like you gotta have people click on the article, man. So you know,
Okay,
there is a
fair
business
enough.
aspect of it. I don't know. This next story is about business. It's about Steam Spy shutting down. Where's the story coming from here?
It's Polygon, Julia Alexander.
Julia Alexander. It says Steam Spy is one of the most used analytic tools for Steam, created in 2015 by Sergey Gallankin.
I wouldn't know because David doesn't open the store.
That's why I pronounce names wrong all the time. 'cause I'm
Gallankin.
bad at it.
The worst part is in my copy I wrote it phonetically. It still can't pronounce it. Gallankin. I wrote gal lawn like your front yawn lawnkin. Will no longer be
Your
able to
front
operate in
yawn.
part because of Steam's new privacy settings. Gallankin tweeted about the conundrum he found himself in, addressing Steam's new policies, which now make users' game libraries private by default. Steam Spy operates via the ability to scan through millions of public game libraries and extrapolate information used to provide analysis reports on game sales and user data. Now that game libraries are private by default, Steam Spy won't be able to operate. Quote, Valve just made a change to their privacy settings, making games owned by Steam users hidden by default, Gallankin said. Steam Spy relied on this information being visible by default and won't be able to operate anymore. To reiterate, it's not because of this new privacy settings. It's because Steam just made everyone's game library hidden by default. So basically, if they hadn't made it hidden by default and you could like opt into that, then like most people probably wouldn't do it, and therefore they could still get the thing. So basically, Steam Spy is shutting down. What do you guys know? What do you think about this?
I am kind of bummed actually because I used Steam Spy. I mean, pretty recently to get user data like on games I was interested in, especially multiplayer games, like smaller ones like Deep Rock Galactic. I was like, is this player base growing or shrinking? How many people are playing it? Is it worth investing in? Based on the number of people I saw playing it, I might decide yes or no. So Yeah, it's a bummer, and I liked to see. It's kind of like having your own little NPD numbers for Steam. You know, you could just go on there and see what the hottest game is and see how things are doing. Seeing Vermintide 2 shoot to the top of the charts when that came out was really awesome because I was rooting for that game. So yeah, I mean it's sad, and I understand the decision by Valve to do that, especially in the wake of like the
No one wants to be Mark Zuckerberg.
Facebook stuff. Yeah, so like it makes sense, even though it's not really comparable. But I feel like that might have spurred them to kind of take privacy more seriously, which I can respect. But yeah, I mean it's a bummer because I like that site a lot. Maybe Steam will do their own version of that. I mean it'd be cool if they were like, hey, we can do these numbers ourselves, and you know that could be beneficial to people and publishers and developers as well. But I don't know. We'll see. I doubt it, but that'd be cool.
I was gonna say literally like the exact same thing. Like Steam could, you know, release the same exact information, and people would use it. It would be cool if they could be like, hey, all of the people that worked, you know, to do it before, why don't you work for us, and we'll just do it on the Steam page instead of having a separate Steam spy, which I don't know. Yeah, I feel like they're definitely able to do that on their own.
Yeah, no, it's dead. It's dead. It's not gonna. Steam's not gonna do it. There's no like benefit
No.
for them to do it. There's too much secrecy like within this, and this was like a brief glimpse into like you could see because every fucking game, like whenever a big game comes out, it's just like this is the fastest selling game of this genre in this quarter in our company's history, and like shit like that. So everything is just marketing spin to like know like how well a game is selling. And Steam Spy, while not perfect, was a valuable tool in order to kind of weed through that like bullshit that publishers put out. Nowadays, I'm sure like Steam in the back end is like telling publishers, hey, this is what your game is doing and stuff like that, so they know all that stuff. But as the public, it would be nice if we knew it, but we don't. And
I still think Capcom was lying about Monster Hunter World being their best-selling game.
yeah,
ever.
it's so weird the way
It's
they
just not true.
Did
It's
they
like
say
the-
best selling or fastest selling?
They said both. They said it was the highest-selling game Capcom has ever published, and I was like, that's not true.
and like
I feel like
in that
fastest
number,
I
selling
wasn't
I
like
could
that,
believe,
but like a bunch of like Kind of Funny had a whole thing where they were like, "There's no fucking way with like kind of." They looked up like the Resident Evil like 1 sales for all the different like, and they were like, "I guess it depends what." But even if you only factor in the PS1 sales, those are still higher than Monster Hunter World when this story broke. So like,
Yeah,
they were just fucking lying
yeah,
about it.
it's very dumb the way
shitty.
it all works. Everybody's smoke and mirrors with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
This next story is about the PlayStation 5. Where's it coming from, Aaron?
It's Kotaku, Jason Schreier.
Jason.
Our guy.
Jason.
Jason.
Our guy Jason.
This is,
Our
this
guy.
is a longer story. I don't know if I'm
Jason.
going to read the whole thing, but it starts out a recent online.
PlayStation 5 is not backwards compatible.
That is not
Right? Is that what it says?
No, at all.
I was making a joke.
I know.
GameSpot's
I know,
expense.
I know.
It is.
A recent online rumor got people buzzing about the possibility of a 2018 release for the PlayStation 5, but that doesn't appear as though it's going to happen. In fact, from what we've heard, the next PlayStation is a ways away. It may not arrive until 2020. It's been nearly 5 years since the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One launch, and which has triggered bouts of nervousness and excitement among video game fans who want to know when they'll start having to hoard pennies for a new generation of consoles. The PS4 launched 7 years ago. Yeah, I don't have to read the whole thing. You know, PS4 launched. When's the PS5 coming out? A lot of the story is basically saying it's not coming out in 2018. Small chance it comes out in 2019. From what they're hearing, 2020 seems like when it's going to come out, basically. Also, he doesn't give any details, but he says most likely. I think he says somewhere in here. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he says it would probably most likely be backwards compatible with the PS4 or something like that. Which then some people took the opposite way. It was very dumb. This is bad journalism.
That's my biggest. That was the most interesting part about the story.
The most interesting part of the story is when do we think the PS5 is going to come out? Aaron, when are we getting the PS5?
I mean, probably like, I don't know, maybe somewhere around 2020, but like honestly, I hope not, just because that seems like way too soon. I would rather see especially since the PS4 Pro came out like relatively recently, and people are just now starting to like adopt the Pro. Like they're getting 4K TVs, want to get like a nice like system to go along with that. Like I just feel like with also there was a bunch of hype around like the Xbox One X and all that. Like I feel like with that happening relatively recently, it would be better to let this console generation ride out for a little bit longer. but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
So
on
you
that.
say 2020 is too early?
Yes, in my opinion.
Cheyenne, you feel the same way?
I would agree only because I can't afford a console in the next 2 years, probably, but I don't know how long other console generations are.
Usually about 8 years.
Okay.
8 years is long as fuck. It's usually like 5
That
years.
was the Xbox 360
I feel like
and
it
PS3
should be
Yeah,
that
and like
long,
there was like
though.
a recession in the middle of that made them probably not want to go forward with that. So like normal consoles are like 5 years. Like if you look at the NES, the SNES, the N64, that's all like 5 years.
Normal consoles also, those graphical leaps were much more noticeable.
They
than
were.
now. So like now I think games look fine.
Mhm.
Like I don't feel like they need to like what the fuck are they
Yeah.
gonna
I don't
like,
need a new
the
console.
only thing that they need to do is make baseline 60 FPS, stop fucking with all the textures, the particle effects are fine, maybe better AI, maybe better like netcode or more, you know, experimental things, but like from the PS4, all we need to learn is that games look good and just make them run better and maybe make like some more crazy like when I'm trying to think of a good example. Like Katamari Damacy, when that came out, that was like a technical marvel because it was so weird how you could like take all these assets and like put them in one place and have it like seamlessly integrate into this ball you were rolling up and then have the level expand with you. Like shit like that, like weird experimental games. I want to see a return of those pushing new technology, but we do not need a higher stitch count on the robe in Assassin's Creed Origins. Like that's what people want. Like I feel like that's what the public wants, and the general public is like, I love good graphics. Gotta have good graphics, and it's like
The red count matters, dude.
they're fine. Like
They
look good
are
now.
fine, and like, but like you say, it's not as big as Jump, and you're right. It's not as big as Jump as 8-bit to 16-bit, 16-bit to 3D models and stuff like that, and you're absolutely right about that. But like, if you look at like some 360 games and PS3 games compared to now, it is like very noticeably different.
Of course, but like now to the future, like what the fuck?
It can just
like,
look better. Like it can look even better. Like I don't.
Does it need to though? Is what I'm saying.
I think it. I mean, better is better. I don't think
Like, but is it like, you know, $400 better? Like, is it like we need to cut generations in half and then also charge you more for the next gen consoles better? Like, why do we have a PS4 Pro if the PS5 would just be around the corner? Like
That's what I'm saying.
that makes no fucking
It's not
sense.
just around the corner. The PS4 Pro came out in 2015.
Well, no, but I'm saying you're saying that like generation, this is a long generation, and the last generation was a long generation. It was like if that was the plan to go for 5 years, that would mean that the PS5 would be coming out this year because the PS4 came out in 2013. So
I don't know
PS4 Pro
necessarily
came
if that
out-
was the plan. I'm just throwing out like that. I don't want to write off completely that games look fine. We should just stop. Like
I'm not saying they look like that's the best they're ever gonna look. I'm just saying that I would prefer if developers would focus less on
focus.
crazy HDR lighting and
Jason.
like mega textures and shit, and more on how does our game run, how does our game perform, like that kind of thing. And so
That's
if
not really on Sony though.
no, if we saw a new generation of consoles, I would want more than just it's in 4K now. Like
I mean, that'll be a
Which
big
is-
selling point of it, I'm sure. But
I haven't even seen 4K. I don't think.
that's a weird.
It's-
I don't think it's like that. Like it's not standard def to high def jump. It is better, but it's not like next level.
I can do without it.
It's not something that would sell me on anything.
I mean, you definitely need to buy a 4K TV at some point, but like
We just bought a TV.
you gotta buy a 4K
2 years
TV.
ago.
Listen, bitch.
You definitely like it's noticeable enough to where you should make the jump, but like it's not like I said standard definition, high definition, and granularity might be like a problem at a certain point, but like I don't want that to have to like be like the thing that stifles like creativity and stuff like that at a certain point. Because not only we're shitting, we're saying that things could be higher resolution, maybe we don't need that and stuff like that, but also like more horsepower means developers can be creative with that and can use it in different ways, maybe making like whether a game is in 4K or not matters a lot less than if you're in like a crowded like village or something and like all the character models around you, like the way Assassin's Creed Unity tried to do it, but like it clearly didn't have the horsepower to do that. But like that stuff is way more engaging, I think, and way more immersive than resolution, and I think extra horsepower helps that too.
But then you get into the other argument of like better technology also enables lazier developers to
You're
work
100%
less
right.
hard on like,
and so limitations in technology make people think of creative solutions to things. So there's an argument to be made there, like
right.
like
And,
Game Boy games
optimization.
and stuff like that are incredibly interesting. How developers manage to like problem solve around different like limitations the hardware like offered them. So
the only thing you need to look at for that argument is the size of like Gears of War 4 compared to like the size of like Breath of the Wild. Like compression and optimization are almost a lost art. Like because developers just keep getting these better and better tools, so it's like, well, fuck, we can just make it work on this, ship it, whatever. It's cheaper to just ship it instead of. And so like I understand that, but like I just don't think that the next generation of like it's not going to be used to its fullest because not everybody's making a God of War 2018 or an Uncharted 4 where they're really pushing the limits of this console. And so the few times you see that, it's going to be like, wow, that's great. But I think that for developers to be comfortable with the tools they have now for a longer period of time is also beneficial in its own way.
yeah, no, I 100% agree with you, and it'll be interesting to see how things go moving forward, because not only less so in Xbox's case, but more so in PlayStation's case, if a PS5 could be backwards compatible with like PS3, PS2, and PS1 games, that's also an interesting factor. And there's other like the PlayStation Network could not suck, and fucking download speeds weren't terrible.
That'd be great.
And stuff like that. There is like just like
Yeah.
basic quality of life stuff. Speaking of quality of life stuff, this next story is about the Nintendo Switch, which comes from where, Aaron?
I didn't open it. Let me open it now. Kotaku. Patricia Hernandez.
It is a story that says save backups have been hacked onto the Nintendo Switch in just 2 weeks by hackers. So save backups, as we all know, are not on the Nintendo Switch. So if your Nintendo Switch fucks up or it gets stolen, and it's a portable, so like that is a very actual possibility, rather than somebody having to break into your house, or you leave it somewhere, or anything, you're just kind of fucked. One of the biggest flaws in Nintendo's portable console is that you can't back up data. If you lose your system or somehow get your data corrupted or wiped, that's it. It's gone. But thanks to a burgeoning hacking scene, Switch fans are now adding features that the Switch desperately needs. Bernardo Giordano, a computer engineer, took to social media a few days ago to announce that he has a working save manager prototype for the Nintendo Switch that allows users to create backup save files for games. It goes on to explain what he uses. He apparently had something similar on the Nintendo 3DS, which he then took like the code for and like took it onto the Switch. But this is like everybody loves the Switch. The Switch is a mega hit. Switch is a fucking huge success. The Switch can do no wrong, as they say, Aaron. You know what I'm saying? That's what the Pope has said. Pope John Paul, Pope Benedict Arnold, Pope Frank. They've all said that the Switch, it is God's plan. And everybody loves it, but the Switch is like lacking in fundamental fucking things like this, and the fact that somebody can put it on there like from basic rudimentary stuff without access to everything Nintendo has at their arsenal in a few weeks, even if it's not perfect, it's probably not. I'm sure there's problems with it. If that can happen, like fuck off, Nintendo. Where the fuck are these basic things? Is just how I feel about the situation.
No, it's just they could easily do this because someone who doesn't have access to all of their tools could easily do it. So why aren't they doing it? Is there any reason that they've come up with like why they wouldn't have save backups? Because that's just a universally liked thing.
Yeah, I would. My only assumption would be is they're like saving it for when the online service announced, and that's going to be one of the benefits of that.
That's
God damn it.
dumb. They shouldn't have to announce an online service.
Nintendo's always been behind the ball.
100%. That also too is
Yeah.
they're just
I'm
inept
not surprised.
generally.
I'm just not surprised. Like it sucks, but I've been conditioned to kind of expect this kind of bullshit. So
Yeah.
Hey, Aaron, you want saved backups on your Switch? Are you just like
I mean,
you like
yeah, what
fucking
kind of question is
risking
that?
it
Nah,
out?
dude, I don't want to be able to save my stuff. Like, if it's there, I want to live on the edge.
You're-
Like, I want to know there's
Yeah.
danger.
From what I've heard,
like,
you're
if I
a
go out
classic
with my Switch,
Logan Paul type, so like I know you like living on the edge, risking it.
what the fuck does that even mean?
I don't know. Bobby says it all the time.
What?
That's what he says.
What?
That's what Bobby says
All right, I
all
got
the
a
time. What are you talking about, Cheyenne?
Bone to pick with Bobby, I guess, dude. What the
Fortnite
fuck?
with us?
I guess I don't listen.
I don't. What are you talking about?
Cheyenne, he says like it's your classic. All right, forget it. Doesn't matter.
I mean, he said something about Jake Paul recently.
Maybe Jake Paul.
Oh, I thought you were saying that like
It's the
Bobby
same
says
thing.
I'm the Logan Paul
Oh,
type.
I mean, he does. He talks about
No.
you a lot behind your back, but like he doesn't.
I mean, that's
he
fair,
doesn't
but
say that. You know what I'm saying?
I was about to say if anybody's Logan Paul and people here, it's Bobby.
Yeah, that's very true. He did. Never mind. Well, that's it for the news of the week. Light news week. That brings us to my favorite segment we do on the show, which is Other Listeners' Mail. If you don't know, this is where we take mail from other podcasts that we listen to, other stuff, and just put it in our thing. We copy paste whatever they said, and we just throw it in our podcast. We don't change any of the names. We make sure that we're giving full credit to them while still simultaneously aping everything everybody else is doing and trying to make it all right. So this comes from Kind of Funny Games Daily, and it's about the Nintendo Switch. It reads, Greg and Jared. That's none of us are Greg Miller or Jared Petty. The Switch tends to get the most titles late, be it Dragon Quest XI coming to the West on PS4 and PC this September, when there's a Switch version coming out, quote, much later. This begs the question, how do you determine whether or not to wait for a Switch version or go ahead and play a game when it's released first? Is it about graphics, playing games that you wouldn't have otherwise played, being able to chip away at really long games? What criteria helps you make the choice in the age of the Switch? Thank you for all you do. Happy Thursday to you both. It's not Thursday when we're doing this. That was completely
Sure isn't.
unrelated to what we're doing. So this question is less about Switch port baiting because we talked about that to death. It's annoying when when a game gets announced in the Twitter mentions, you're just like, "Where's Switch version? Switch version? Switch version?" This is about if a Switch version has already been announced for a game, but it's coming out a few months down the road from when the actual game is coming out. How do you choose whether or not to wait?
I don't.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Let's say it has a lot to do with the zeitgeist, probably. Like, if you want to be a part of that, then
Because, yeah, that's important to me, as I mentioned before, and also the Switch is only going to be an inferior version to, like, the PS4, and the only draw there is portability, and very rarely in a AAA game, which is usually how this applies to, do I feel like that is enough of a reason to wait and get it on Switch. Like, my Switch is a Nintendo first party and an indie double dip console. That is all I use it for. I would not in a million fucking years get Wolfenstein 2 on my Switch. I would not like willingly play like Doom on my Switch. I will play those games on their, better platforms in my opinion. I mean, it's subjective. Like they run better, they look better on those platforms. So the Switch for me is not something that I port bag because I like it, but it's not my main console. I only play it when I am itching for a Nintendo game or when I'm out of the house, which is not that often.
Yeah,
'cause
judging
I'm a
by your
homebody.
skin tone.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, for me, it's a non-question. Like I just don't. If it were Monster Hunter World, I think I even would have just bought it on. I would have bought it twice. That's usually how I do it. Because
So I guess that's your
impatient.
answer, is that you're willing to double dip on stuff.
Yeah, because I'm a fucking
Well,
I'm a
even
shill.
then, some of the games that like don't get announced on Switch, but they come out on PC and maybe PS4 and Xbox.
And then way later.
And then eventually they get announced for Switch. It's like, well, I've already played that, and there's nothing about it that like Dead Cells. Like,
Yeah.
you're not gonna get that on Switch
Oh, yeah,
most
yeah.
likely.
yeah.
There were games that I wouldn't either way.
Like Necrodancer and Binding of Isaac that I've played to
But, like,
death.
yeah, like-
probably not.
There are some
Yeah.
games that come out that like.
Can I
you
ask a
just
question real quick?
don't
Do you have
need-
Stardew on Switch?
Yeah.
I was
I do,
just asking
yes.
if that's like an example.
I don't
play
have it on PC. I only.
I
got
have it on PC, and that's where I've played it, and I have no.
You don't-
It
you
just
don't- you
feels
don't
much
wanna do-
better to
okay.
play that specific game on.
I was just
PC.
curious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I like it on the Switch, but I think because I've already played like 2.
Your save
full
doesn't
games
carry
on
over, so that's
PC.
also a big factor.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
If you have
It
if
would
you
have
have
to
300 hours
be-
into a game.
It would have to be a 1-to-1 port for me to even consider it, and that's almost never the case with these big games.
Yeah, that's for sure
So the
not
only
true
time-
AAA games.
Yeah. So usually it's indie games for me that I
How about you,
go
Aaron?
back and think about.
I kind of agree with David to some degree. Like, it's a lot for indie games, like games that I wouldn't play otherwise. I'm never gonna a game that's coming out on the PS4 that I really care about and really want to play. I'm never gonna play that on the Switch instead, just because it's gonna look worse.
Yeah.
And I definitely do double dip on some things, like especially like Nintendo first party, like Breath of the Wild is a perfect example. Like I didn't have a Switch when that came out, went out, bought it for the Wii U, beat it, then played it again on the Switch. I own, I think, 2 copies of that, 2 copies of Bayonetta. Frankly, I would get Skyrim again if it wasn't fucking $60.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat. Like I play it for indies and some ports, but I'm not rushing out to get everything I have on the Switch.
Yeah, I think for me it comes down to like how long is the gap? Because if the gap's like 6 months and like that's like a pretty, if the gap's like a month or 2 months, that's like not the worst thing in the world. I kind of feel like, especially like the worst thing is when it's announced but it has no date for the Switch version, but the PS4 one's coming out in like a month. So like that one I'm like, all right, I don't want to stand by if this is nebulous fucking thing.
Yeah, like Dragon Quest. Like, I might want to play that on the Switch, but if it's gonna be on the PS4 way sooner, like, why would I not just play it there?
Yeah, but I do, to a certain point, empathize with this guy who didn't write into us, that he does, like, I definitely, for indie games especially, prefer to play them on Switch. Like, when I prefer to play them on Vita, when the Vita was a thing, and now I prefer to play them on Switch. The biggest example I'm thinking of right now is Banner Saga. Got announced for Switch, and Banner Saga 3 got announced for Switch, and 1 and 2 are coming to Switch. I played 1 on PS4, and then 1 and 2 are coming to Switch, and then the third one's going to come to Switch, and it just got a date, actually. We're not going to cover it, but it just got a date. I think it's coming out in the summer. And that might be a game where I have, like, currently have the Banner Saga 2 on my Xbox, because it was Games with Gold one month. And that might be a game because... for 2 reasons. Because of the portability of the Switch, I think that is a perfect game that would fit because it's like a turn-based, like grid-based RPG, and it, like, I feel like that's perfect for the Switch. It won't lose anything. Like the game is beautiful, but it's not like highly intensive. It looks like kind of like a comic book, like an old comic book, or not comic, like a cartoon kind of. And then 3, and I think this is probably the biggest one for this particular game, is that like your save like has impacts on like what characters you let die in that. So like buying the like version, like buying it on Switch and then carrying my save over to the next game game is another,
having them all together
is another big thing. And I would say like they're less in the zeitgeist right now, but like when Telltale games were a big thing, I played The Walking Dead. I didn't know that much. I was like, The Walking Dead's good, I'll try it out. Played it on Vita. Big mistake. That game runs terribly on Vita. It runs terribly on everything, but it runs even worse on Vita. Yeah. But then, like, during Season 2, I was locked into playing on fucking Vita again. And I'm like, that sucks, but, you know, that's what you gotta do sometimes. But that for games of that nature, I think that is a definite,
that makes
definite
sense.
thing. But yeah, thank you for writing into another show that we ate this question off of. That question, I think, came from Brian. So thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
We like talking to you. I don't actually know if it came from Brian. I just made that up.
Whatever.
So I'm just pulling the curtain back on fucking everything today. You know what I'm saying? So that brings us to games coming out this week. That Aaron's gonna tell us about. So Aaron, what games are coming out this week for us?
So this week we got Yakuza 6 on PS4. That's April 17th.
Yeah.
We have Nintendo
Labo.
Labo.
Yakuza. Cheyenne, are you gonna play Yakuza? I remember you played Kiwami or 0 or 1. One of them you played.
I haven't finished any of them. I've played a little bit of 0, haven't even started Kiwami, but I just love them, so I'll probably buy it and then not play it, which is totally fine by me.
Sounds good. You can keep going now, Aaron. I'm sorry.
We have Nintendo Labo S, which frankly I'm not entirely sure I know what that is.
Switch?
Coming out on April 20th.
Comes out on the Switch?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Well, didn't we announce that another week?
No, it comes out the 420. Blaze it.
I swear to God, we said that last week.
You get to burn the paper that you bought. You paid $60 for it.
Anyway, God of War PS4 also on April 20th.
Hell
You
yeah.
can smoke weed with your son.
And that is it. I swear we said Nintendo Labo last
No,
week.
we didn't, for sure.
I don't think so.
All right.
I mean, you can go back.
Perhaps we
You can
did
go
not.
back and look at the doc.
Maybe I had a dream about it,
Yes.
dude. I was
You're
looking
thinking about it,
forward,
dude.
you know?
It's coming out this week.
Fucking my coworker stiplified me and I couldn't remember where I was or what time I was
That's
in.
a good point. So God of War, we can talk about that briefly. It's getting, when none of us have played it or anything, but it's getting crazy scores.
Yeah.
Out of this world.
Yeah,
scores.
I'm really excited. I think that's a really good way to market your game. If you're confident about it, is just
Put it out,
let
man,
the
or
embargo
put the
release
review
on
out.
like a fucking normal time frame instead of like 8 hours
Yeah.
before it releases or some
Yep.
shit. I fucking hate that. I hate that.
Yep, I completely agree.
Just embargo it until... I mean, it makes sense from like a, hey, play the game before you release it, your review, so that we're not fighting. But like also maybe just release it to them early and then let them...
Well, in some games, like, the games
reviews
don't
out.
get done until, like, the last minute, so I kind of understand from a certain point.
Yeah.
But on another point, that's fucking terrible, like, when, like, The Witcher only gets out to the press, like, a week before, like, the shit, and it's like, Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
like, you're not going to be able to get through the whole game in a week.
Like, Persona, I remember, did it really well, where, like, the site I was working for when that came out, we had it, like, 2 months in advance of, like, when the game came
Jesus.
out. So.
Yeah, that makes
And
sense.
the same thing with Yakuza did the exact same thing. Like, reviews dropped for that game last month.
Because
Well, that's because they forgot to move the
Yeah,
embargo.
it was like a whole...
That too, yeah.
But no, I think it's definitely boosted hype for everybody because I mean
yeah.
that's incredible. Like that's what the highest rated PS4 game. Like,
maybe
exclusive?
Bloodborne, maybe Horizon.
No, Bloodborne was like a 92, 93.
I don't have
Horizon
the
was a
fucking
91.
QB
Yeah,
Rolodex
you
on my
don't-
fucking
Well, I
arm.
only
with
know
the
because I saw like
Metascores.
I saw like a list or something. But this is the highest original game
exclusive
to PS4. So that's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like I'm in. Like I wasn't that excited to play it initially because I thought it would just be an okay action game, but to see that it's this good, like
Yeah, I mean, our predicted Metacritic,
yeah.
we gave them
Aaron, you want
lower
to
scores
talk about
than
that?
we should have.
You talk about how you nailed it perfectly on the predicted Metacritic.
For God of War, dude, I've never been happier in my whole life about a Metacritic score
about a
because
Metacritic.
like
I was gonna say point blank. Period. That was it.
just
it's a 95
happy.
now.
Oh, it's a
stop the
95
presses.
now?
It's a 95 now.
Oh,
Yep.
man.
Damn.
Jesus,
Alright, well-
that's
That's
fucking
insane.
high as fuck, dude.
Yeah,
you
dude,
getting
I'm
high
so
as fuck
happy.
playing it too.
Credits.
420, guys. What's
Yeah,
coming
dude, 420.
out? So yeah, but
I don't smoke.
we can wait for that. I'm sure we'll do a spoiler cast or have impressions of it next week or the weekend.
I'm gonna play the fuck out of that when it comes out.
So, hyped about doing that. That brings us to what we have been playing, which is the time at which we talk about the games we've been playing this week. And so I'm throwing this in here. It's the game I've been playing the most, of course, is Fortnite. And this is going to be our weekly Fortnite news update. Aaron, can I get a theme song?
me.
All right, cool. Sounds good. So Fortnite had a bunch of news this week. Ninja streamed with Drake again. It didn't get as much press, but he did it again. That's just cool. I'm just into that. That is very. Like, I don't love Ninja or anything. He's like whatever. But him, like the fact that rappers and everybody likes this game is very. I like it a lot. It matters a lot to me, and I want you people to care.
Did you see that Drake said he would rap about Fortnite
they put
if
the
they
Hotline
put
Bling
a
in it?
Hotline
Yeah.
Bling like emo?
Yeah, he goes.
And I'm like, why wouldn't they?
Oh,
do
of course, that's just free promo, and
it's coming.
yeah, so I'm very excited about that. Also,
God damn it.
also they added a bunch of a new update that fucked up the game for a whole day. That was also a big
Yeah,
big story. The
That was
game
cool.
just fucked up for a day. They did
Bold move.
It is back now. I think it was like last Thursday it fucked up. So the compensation people got is they added like back bling that you can get if you're playing the battle royale stuff, some free battle stars, and then something else for Save the World that no one cares about. But the bigger news was that they added fucking console key bindings for building now, so it's like infinitely
building.
better, and it's awesome.
It's
you
great.
can just auto queue like
Like
stairs
you
and
press
shit
circle and then it's
Uh,
like key
yeah.
bound to a bunch of different things, so you don't have to like flip through.
Oh.
And everything.
Yeah, you can just like hold L2 and just build
Wow.
stairs.
It's like
Alright.
infinitely
Yeah,
better now.
it makes it-
like building is just
yeah.
much better now.
Like people have already gotten really good at building where they'll be building like huge
Yeah.
towers and crazy mazes like you would see on PC already.
So it's not quite as good as PC, but it is very much better.
Yeah.
Also,
Cool.
just been having fun with it. Drew and I played a little bit this morning. We got a win. It was fun. We got a loss too. We finished
Nice.
second. It was terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, we streamed it a little bit. We'll probably be streaming it more this week. There's also the high explosive mode, I think, and 50v50 is coming out. Oh, Porta Fort's
50v50.
another thing. We didn't talk about that.
Oh yeah,
that was
totally.
cool.
Forgot about that.
They added like a bomb that builds up a fort. It's very cute. Just the infinite possibility. Like PUBG, like for all it's revolutionary and stuff like that. It is very much like this is the game that you work inside the confines of this. Whereas Fortnite, they can add all this wacky, zany, goofy kind of stuff.
Mhm.
that I
Yeah.
think is
Yeah,
fun.
that's definitely to their advantage.
And sometimes it goes well, sometimes it
Oh yeah,
doesn't,
sometimes
but,
it's like the
it's
hunting
still,
rifle. And who cares?
It's still the hunting rifle fucking sucks.
Or the bow is what I
It's still very
could have
fun.
also said. But like
Yeah.
yeah, and you see people like with the heat seeking rock, or not heat seeking, the control
Yeah, the
guided missile. You see people do the cool stuff where they can ride the missile and then they'll shoot another missile
Yeah.
jump onto that
And then
missile and
they'll
ride it
jump
farther,
to it.
and then like
God
guy
damn
did that
it.
across the
It's-
map. It's like crazy.
It's insane.
God.
And like
man,
I
that's
saw
insane.
another one
Yeah.
where a guy used the porta-fort. Somebody was coming in from the storm, and he threw the porta-fort on top of them, so it trapped them in the porta-fort. So then they
Oh.
couldn't get out, and they died in the storm. And it's just like people do like
Oh,
creative
gosh.
stuff like that, and it's really fun.
Yeah. I saw another one where they had built like a big stairway to heaven, and like they had their little base way up in the sky, and it got broken, and they fell down, and they put a porta fort, and they fell down
Onto
into
the
it and hit
tire?
the tires,
It's fucking-
and they didn't
yeah.
take fall damage.
There's just so many interesting stuff like that, and it like, in the way that if you added a gun to PUBG, it's like there's a better gun now. But in this game, the things they add to this game change the gameplay in like interesting ways, impulse grenades and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it about Fortnite for this week. Aaron, I know you played a game that we talked about for far too long last week, which is Far Cry 5. How you been feeling about that?
All right, so to go back to our conversation from last week, or to your and David's conversation, I do not agree with you even a little bit, at least so far. So the intro I thought was incredible. You said one of your biggest complaints was how they didn't introduce the cult. They didn't introduce Joseph Seed. That's the entire beginning of the game is exposition about this cult. Like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
I don't tell there's exposition in the fact that they've taken over Montana. That's it.
Yeah, that's the game. Like, you just described the fucking plot of the game.
I want more background, is what I'm saying.
What do you want?
I want to know how he
Like,
took
I don't-
over Montana.
They vaguely
That's what
explain
I'm
that
saying.
in
It's
certain
vague.
ways.
Everything
It's like,
is very vague like that.
I mean, yeah, you're right, but I assume that's something I'm gonna like glean over the course of the game. I don't
You're
need
not.
all of that to be thrown at me. All right, well, maybe I'm wrong.
We'll see.
So far, though, the introduction was awesome. I thought introducing him as a villain was better than anything Far Cry has ever done with a character. He was like, the beginning of that game was super fucking just like creepy and like interesting. Like, I really wanted to know what was going on. Like, a fucking dude climbs onto the helicopter and just jumps into the blades.
Yep.
Like, what the fuck?
Yep.
But yeah, dude, I loved the beginning of the game, and then it like, after the opening bits where it's like a lot of story and exposition and stuff, it tapers off pretty quick. It's like
It lets you do your
suddenly
own
you
thing.
get dumped into this gigantic world, and it's like, okay, this is Far Cry, and then I care a lot less about what
It
I'm
is
doing.
very like it's a
So that's
very
a little
big
disappointing.
tonal shift, like for sure.
Yeah, 100%. That's the only complaint I have with it so far. Like, the combat feels great, the stealth feels good. And actually, I don't know that that's true. Like, the only thing I don't like about the stealth is like,
Everything?
to play stealth is you kill stuff with a bow.
Yeah.
So far.
That's every
Like-
game though with the Far
Yeah,
Cry.
but like the
you
bow,
can
I
do
don't feel like feels
silencers, but it doesn't
satisfying
work as
much
well.
in this game.
It does in the sense that like it's fun to like kill a guy with a bow, and then the other guy's like, what the fuck, and then you kill him with the bow, and then the next guy that says what the fuck, you kill him with the bow, and that's the end of that like zone.
Yeah,
Until
that's
you
what
get
they
down
do
to
with
like
the
the
bow.
last
And then
two
when
guys,
you
and
get
just go fucking pistol blazing.
when you get a silent sniper or silenced whatever, later on they become fucking trigonometry majors where they're like, he fell down this way, so the guy must be coming from fucking over here, so we gotta fucking. It's just like, all right, leave me the fuck alone. It's a fucking.
It keeps you from cheesing it. I don't know. I think that'd be
The-
too cheesy to just be able to pick everybody off from a mile away.
I don't know.
But
My favorite part in the beginning was like I walked up to this camp, and there were these two dudes, like, or I guess it was like three guys, I don't know, but it's like in the very, very beginning where you're like escaping from the helicopter and you're running and like trying to get to safety or whatever. And I found these guys like by a campfire, and there was like a gas can sitting way too close to this campfire. Like, I don't know who the fuck put it there, but I was like, what happens if you think if I shoot that it'll blow them up? So I shot it, and it blew them to fuck. Like, they were just gone. I have no idea where their bodies went.
Yeah.
But then I was like, I walked up to try and find their corpses after they disappeared into the ether, and fucking everybody around for who knows how far heard that explosion, and they came looking for me, which I thought was pretty cool.
yeah.
Because, like, it was already pretty tense, like, I'm being chased, and, like, people from a solid distance heard that explosion.
Yeah.
Just wait till you're in a
The
story
sound
mission
of-
and like 50 random encounters start occurring, and like, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, anyway.
And I did experience the cutscene thing you were talking about, where like I liberated a camp, and then I was like trying to loot some shit, and then suddenly it's like,
Yeah.
okay, here's your forced cutscene that means literally
Yeah,
nothing.
like fucking
And
fireworks.
then
all
it
of the
drops
bodies
you
were
in
gone.
a completely different spot.
Yeah.
My
And that's
problem
fine,
was that
like-
yeah.
That was annoying, but then I went back to
Yeah.
finish getting what I was getting, and all of
It
the
had
bodies
been
were
reset,
gone, and
yeah.
there was nothing there.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
really
I
annoying.
don't like that it like teleports you to a completely different spot when you were like in the middle of doing something. But like narratively, I like those little cutscenes at first. But yeah, I
They
do
get
not
very
like
old
that
Yeah,
it
when
like,
it's
drops you off.
Introducing you to the game, I think that's a cool mechanic. I don't even think it's like great or necessary. I think it's like a sure, like whatever, cool. I get to see the world from a different angle. Like do that once or twice, and then I'm done with it. I don't need to see that every fucking time I liberate a camp.
3 times in each region, and plus if you play those missions again with a friend, you have to watch them again. So like I definitely understand that complaint.
Yeah, for sure.
And I like the like RPG elements with like the perks and stuff. I almost think that there's too much of it for a game like this. Like there's like when I've got my first perk unlock point or whatever, and I went in to do it, it was like Jesus Christ! Like I don't want to sit here and read all of these and try and decide which one's going to be the best for the way I play the game. Like
the other half are like nebulous.
That makes it even worse if that's actually true.
Some of them are like tailored to more of like a stealth like play style, and the other one is more for like if you just like you get like the basic ones like you need a parachute and stuff like that, or like if you like fishing, there's some for that. So you don't have to get all of them, but yeah, I understand like you don't want to read all of those to see which ones you do want.
And they don't do a very good job of like slowly introducing you into those. It's just kind of like, all right, here's all of this fucking shit. Have fun.
Yeah. I like
and
how
it's like
Horizon
I don't care enough
it.
to do.
Yeah, Horizon has a very like linear.
They had like separate like where, like,
and Horizons are a lot more
you know,
clear cut. Like this is the stealth one, this is the combat one, this
Horizons
is the gathering.
Are also just like a line.
Yeah.
So like it's like.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Side
like,
grades
It's better
to
designed
and
as
then
far
you
as
keep-
more
I don't have to read all of them to know what they do.
Nah, I
Right.
disagree. I think having that choice from the beginning was a smart move.
no,
Because like otherwise it's just like, all right, well I guess I have to get this one before I can get that one that I really want. So like having them just available where I can just
No. That makes sense. What I'm saying is like in Horizons, they're
Segmented.
set up in a way that I can tell which ones are which type of ability.
Oh, yeah,
whereas in
that's the
Far
way it
Cry's,
could
it's
have
just a
been.
fucking gigantic
Well, they
list,
do
and I have
like
to.
little symbols, but like they don't.
Yeah, what
have
the fuck
any
does that mean?
Yeah, they don't have any words. Like,
One's a
like-
skull with like a dick in its mouth, and the other one's like a fucking tiger running in the woods. Like, how am I supposed to know what any of that
Yeah,
means?
whereas in her
It would be easier if they just said like,
Horizon one, it's like a health one, a stealth one, bow.
Yeah,
one,
it's
and-
very, very clear what I'm doing in Horizon.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I didn't like Far Cry, but that's neither here nor there.
I am having fun with it. All that being said, I'm having
glad
fun
you
with
are
it.
having
That's
fun
good.
with
I liked it.
David, you've been playing Minit more.
Yeah, I actually finished it. Well, I finished a playthrough of it. Did I talk about this last
Yeah, you
week?
talked about Minit a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, I'll just briefly like.
Does
I
it have a
finished
good
the
end game?
I'd
You can
recommend it.
talk about that. Or...
It has a like new game plus that makes it harder and adds some things. It reduces the time limit to 40 seconds.
Does the game like change, like the icon, the name, everything about it changes? It's like it
What?
becomes 40
Oh,
it becomes 40 SE or something.
40.
Oh, 40. No, it doesn't.
A thing of old English pops up.
I don't plan on playing it again, but I know that its post game or its new game plus is like very good. I might try to get the platinum eventually. Apparently, the platinum's pretty easy, and whatever. But why not? But I recommend it for $10. That was a solid 4 or 5 hours of gameplay. I just picked up yesterday actually Deep Rock Galactic, which I've talked about on the show I think once, just mentioned. This came into early access on PC and on Steam and Xbox One in March. It's one of the indies that Microsoft showcased at E3 last year, and they're updating it quite a lot. So I wanted to follow and make sure they were updating it well. And I think having Microsoft as their publisher is going to push them to be more on top of that. And their community outreach and stuff is very good. And the community is great. So I picked that up. So it's like a Left 4 Dead style mining game. So you play as a bunch of dwarves. And it's kind of a low poly but very pristine looking art style. It's very pretty. And there's classes, and so you'll be dropped into this cave system, and it's procedurally generated caves, and they have different biomes, and you have different objectives like mine this much of this ore and dump it in your little robot that follows you around, and then you have to escape. The escape sequence is really tense because you have 5 minutes to get to the escape pod, which could end up 500 meters away from you, through a bunch of walls that you have to get through. So it's really tense. There's enemies. They're like arachnid, insect enemies. And it really emphasizes teamwork. I think the game is great. I think it's in a really good spot right now for being early access. And it just got updated on Friday. Every couple weeks it gets a pretty substantially sized update. It adds new enemies, new animations, levels, things like that. So I'm really enjoying it. If you're into that kind of thing, definitely I would check it out. Better with friends for sure, but a very solid title for being in early access like it is.
Cool. And then Cheyenne, you and I, well, not you and I together, but you and I separately have been playing the new Overwatch Retribution kind of stuff. Yeah. So yeah, I wanna talk about that.
Yeah.
I need to play that.
So the new event, I think overall they're calling it Archives because last year it was the what was it called? Oh god, what was that mission called? Fuck.
Beats me.
The other one, and then this
The
year
one with the
there's
robots, the fucking...
Yeah.
I'll
Why
just
can't
go.
I
Just
think
go
of
on.
the
I'll look it up.
name? Yeah, and this year it's
Shit, that's
Retribution, which is a Blackwatch mission, and I'm really liking this one so far. So for like the general the general Retribution, you play as
Uprising.
Reaper, McCree, Genji, Uprising. Thank you, McCree and Genji and Moira, and it's actually really well done. Like, you kind of walk through this Venice map, which will be released as an actual map at some point later. And you have, like, the special enemy types. In Uprising, there was, like, a Bastion character, like a big bomb detonator character. This time we have a sniper that looks kind of like Ana and Widow. There's an assassin that looks like a robot Genji. And then there's, like, a big heavy assault that has huge miniguns that looks like Heavy from TF2. And it's been really fun, and I've actually kind of learned that I might like playing Moira, so that's been good. But it's been nice. It was a big enough update and an interesting enough event that I felt compelled to start playing again. It's been a few months even since I've really like gotten into Overwatch, so it's been really cool, and I'm happy to find out that there's a new character that I kind of like. I'm gonna try some more Moira soon.
Moira can fucking bite the dust whenever I play Mystery Heroes. She can. I can't do her.
I kind of like her.
I'm fine with her like damage
I've
attacks.
still never
but,
played
like,
her.
I never think of her as a healer, and like that, like that's obviously how she's supposed to be played. And the hand thing still like fucks me up. Still, like I have my prompt switched,
Yeah.
but it still fucks me up. So
Yeah.
stuff like that. Overall, this I would say more than Retribution has like, because it has like actual cutscenes and stuff like that. A lot more like narrative, like exposition stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
The cutscenes
which
were
is-
really cool, or like the first
Yeah.
like big cutscenes.
So
like,
stuff
really
like that,
nice.
I think, is adding on to it a lot. I've also like I've been playing with Cheyenne, my girlfriend. Just some like random mystery heroes, kind of like feeling out. Some new people like playing with Brigitte or Brigitte or however you say it.
Brigitte.
More, and
Yeah.
like I played on some of the newer maps that I've never played. Like I did what's it called, Blizzard Town or something like that. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah,
Well,
Blizzard World.
yeah.
Oh, that's out?
Junkers.
It looks really
Yeah.
cool.
Oh yeah.
Fuck, I really need
It's
to
really-
play.
Yeah, and that was a little
Yeah,
while ago.
it's really
even.
neat. Like there's different like arcade rooms that's like all styled after StarCraft and stuff like that. It's really neat.
I
It's
wish
themed after
it
all
were
their
real
different
life.
games. Like, there's
Yeah,
WoW sections, too.
So
Yeah.
all that, and like I've been having fun.
It's very cool.
Like it's very like in season 1 or 2 we were playing like competitive, where like it's not like that was the only thing we cared about, but we cared. And in this, I'm just doing it like I don't even fucking give a fuck about
Yeah,
it.
no, I haven't played competitive for
Yeah,
the last
so.
2 seasons. That's not anything I care about anymore. It's just whenever I feel like having some fun, and now that there's an event going on, I feel
I still,
can
I
actually.
guess
go
I'll
and
throw
do
I'll
that.
throw a critique out there. Why is Mystery Hero still so unbalanced sometimes?
I
how
don't
did
know. Caleb and I were playing, and it was like we would be on teams where we would have like all attack heroes, and they would have like 2 divas and like some good tanks and like healers and like. And I'm like, how? I thought that they
Yeah,
fixed
I just
that,
don't-
But
Isn't
still,
that
every
like
time,
the appeal? Is that it's random?
But you don't
Yeah,
want it to be
it's
too
random,
like it got to the point where I was playing
the
earlier.
other team always has.
It was
a
like
good
our
comp.
team was 5 healers versus 4 divas, and I'm like, come on, bro! Like, what the
Right.
fuck are we supposed to do?
I thought that they were supposed
The
to
appeal
fix
for me
that.
was playing, like, different characters, too. Like, it forced me
Yeah,
to play
that's the
characters I
appeal
normally
of it, but
wouldn't.
not
So,
like you still have to balance the teams properly. And
Yeah. I'm not saying... That's what I'm saying, is, like, the appeal isn't random, like, just randomization. It's the fact that I have to play new characters.
Right.
So, like, I feel like they could at least try
like,
to balance it.
yeah.
Like, maybe,
there
like,
has to be a way.
Yeah.
you select a role or something, and then you get random characters within that role.
Because if one team gets a bomb combination, they'll just steamroll it like completely. If you get an actual if you
I
just
think that-
RNG into like an actual like comp that like makes sense with the meta,
Yeah.
like you're gonna destroy everyone.
Yeah, and then you don't get to play like those characters for very long because you're
Yep.
getting killed so quickly
Exactly.
by everyone else. Like if they're doing a bunch of damage and like you're on a character that you've never really played before
Mm-hmm.
and you want to try him out, like
I think it would be fine if they
Yeah.
introduced, like, a mechanic maybe where there's, like, 1 tank slot, 1 healer slot, and then, like, 3 DPS slots, and, like, each person,
It's
like,
just rotating
it's just
or
kind of like
cycling
a
that throughout
free
the
play or whatever.
yeah.
And it's kind of like what's
Or,
the
like,
mode
you
where
get to choose.
each person can only be one of the a certain character? You know what I mean? Like there can only be one Tracer,
Just
one
competitive.
Reinhardt,
Yeah.
competitive, whatever the fuck. Like it's
Like plays
that,
like
but
that
with
now,
roles instead. So like one person can pick the tank role, one person can pick the healer role, and there's like
That'd be
3 damage
interesting.
rolls.
You can-
and you get a random character in
Yeah,
that role.
or it could be even less than that.
Yeah.
Just in the back end, Blizzard is doing that kind of stuff. Just you don't see it.
Yeah, like make sure
Yeah,
that there
like,
is
it doesn't
that
have to be that like
in general.
because like I don't typically play healers, maybe because I'm a selfish person, as the narrative has spoken in Fortnite. But like it does, like it is fun. But like if I was to do that, I would probably like I just view myself better as like a DPS character because I've just played like Soldier and Reaper and stuff like that more. So like I would probably gravitate towards that more. So it like focusing on, I don't know. It's interesting. Just fucking fix it. I don't understand why it's like it's every third game we just get steamrolled, or we steamroll a team because we have 2 Bastions and 2 Reinhardts just sitting on the payload and they can't do anything because they have all healers. And it's just like, what the fuck? But yeah, that's it for the Current Gaming Podcast. My name is Charles Blade. You can find me on Twitter at Charles Tula. We had a nice show, good time this week. It didn't go for 5 hours.
Yeah, this was perfect, dude.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah, it was real
It's because
good.
we didn't have 85 fucking
that's
quick hits.
exactly why. So I'm glad, and I think this will be the way we do it from now on. David, or not David, Aaron, where can everybody find you?
Aaron M. Weeks on
Leo,
Twitter,
Cheyenne,
once in a while.
Where you at?
I'm on Twitter at Poop Flowers.
And David, where can the people find you?
My guy Dave on Twitter. I usually just respond to tweets, which only old people do.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That's awesome. You can find
That's
you
not
can
wrong.
find the channel on Twitter at Current Gaming _. You can view our streams on the channel and on our Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/Current Gaming _.
And our Facebook has a banner now.
That's
Yeah, we also have a
we have
Facebook page.
too.
Yay.
Yeah, so you can do all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's it. The Current Gaming Podcast, episode 49. Shout out to Cardi B, and peace.